Athens is the capital and the largest city of Greece. Its history spans over 3,400 years, and its earliest human presence began somewhere between the 11th and 7th millennia BCE. The church of Agioi Asamotoi is a characteristic example of an Athenian church of the 11th century. St. Catherine's was built in the 11th century at the site of an older temple dedicated to the goddess Artemis. The atrium's columns and architrave are still standing in the church's cloister. This monument was erected by Chorigos Lysicrates, a wealthy patron of musical performances in the theatre of Dionysus, to commemorate the prize in the dithyramb contest of the city Dionysia in the 335-334 BCE, of which performance he was the liturgist. This is one of the oldest and less known churches in Athens. It was called the Great Monastery and then later as Monastiraki, which means the Little Monastery, which eventually became the name of the whole area. Zistarakis Mosque is an Ottoman mosque built in 1759. It is now functioning as an annex of the Museum of Greek Folk Art. Hadrian's library was created by Roman Emperor Hadrian in 132 AD. The library was on the eastern side where rolls of papyrus books were kept. Adjoining halls were used as reading rooms and the corners served as lecture halls. It was seriously damaged by the Herulaean invasion of 267 and repaired by the prefect Herculius in 407 to 412 AD. During Byzantine times, 3 churches were built at the site, the remains of which are preserved. The Fethiye Mosque or the Mosque of the Conquest is a 17th century Ottoman mosque. It was built on the ruins of a Christian basilica from the Middle Byzantine period. The Christian church was converted into a mosque in 1456-58, soon after the Ottoman conquest of the Duchy of Athens to coincide with the visit to the city by Sultan Mehmed the Conqueror in 1458. The Stoa of Attalos was a covered walkway in the Agora of Athens. It was built by and named after King Attalos II of Pergamon, who ruled between 159 BC and 138 BC. The current building was reconstructed from 1952 to 1956. The Roman Agora was built around 100 meters east of the original Agora by Euclides of Marathon between 27 BC and 17 BC, using funds donated by Augustus in fulfillment of the promise originally made by Julius Caesar in 51 BC. The Gate of Athena Archegetes is situated on the west side of the Roman Agora. Constructed in 11 BCE by donations from Julius Caesar and Augustus, the gate was made of an architrave standing on 4 Doric columns and a base, all of Pentelic marble. The Tower of Winds is an octagonal Pentelic marble clock tower that functioned as a horologion or timepiece. It is considered the world's first meteorological station. Unofficially, the monument is also called Erides, which means winds. The structure features a combination of sundials, a water clock, and a wind vane. It was designed by Andronikos of Keros around 50 BC, but according to other sources, might have been constructed in the 2nd century BC before the rest of the forum. Theseus was a mythical king and founder hero of Athens. The myths surrounding his journeys, exploits, and friends have provided material for fiction throughout the ages. The Greek demigod is known for feats of strength, but is even better remembered for divine intelligence and wisdom. The National Observatory of Athens is a research institute founded in 1842. It is the oldest research foundation in Greece. The observatory was the first scientific research institute built after Greece became independent in 1829. This is a rock-carved cistern collecting and storing water for the city of Athens from springs of a higher ground through a subterranean pipe consisting of a large basin and several offshoots dated to 6th century BC. A Byzantine-era church hidden in a wooded area below the Acropolis, Church of Saint Demetrius the Bombardier, is a beautiful 12th century church. The origin of the nickname Bombardier comes from an incident in 1658. On the eve of the celebration of Saint Demetrius' Day, the Ottoman commander of the Acropolis set up cannons from the propylaea with the intent of firing on the church. The plan was thwarted when lightning struck the powder storage that night, destroying the cannons and killing the commander, his family, and several Ottoman soldiers. Located at the base of the Philopappus hill, you will find two rock-cut caves known as Socrates' prison. These caves are believed to have been carved into the rocks in the 5th century BC. Cimon was an Athenian statesman and general in the mid-5th century BC in Greece. The victor in the Battle of Marathon lies buried in this rock-cut tomb. The Acropolis hill in Athens has been inhabited since the Neolithic era. In the 13th century BC, during the Mycenaean period, it was fortified and became the seat of the local ruler. The ancient citadel, located on a rocky outcrop above the city of Athens, contains the remains of several ancient buildings of great architectural and historical significance, the most famous being the Parthenon. Now a World Heritage Site, the Acropolis and its monuments are universal symbols of the classical spirit and civilization and form the greatest architectural and artistic complex bequeathed by Greek antiquity to the world. This small church of Saint Simon was built in 1847 by the builders who were brought over from the small island of Anafi by King Othon and his Bavarian court to build Athens in the early 1840s. The Church of the Transfiguration of the Saviour is an 11th century Byzantine church located to the north of the Acropolis. Because of its small size, it is also known as the Sotirakis. Constructed between 449 to 415 BCE, this well-preserved Greek temple was dedicated to Hephaestus, the Greek god of blacksmiths, metalworking, carpenters, craftsmen, artisans, sculptors, metallurgy, fire and volcanoes. This prominent rock is called the Areopagus, a name derived from Areos Pagos, which means hill of Ares. Ares is the Greek god of war and courage. The Areopagus sermon refers to a sermon delivered by Apostle Paul in Athens at the Areopagus. This sermon illustrates the beginnings of the attempts to explain the nature of Christ and an early step on the path that led to the development of Christology. The word Acropolis is from the Greek words akron, which means highest point or extremity, and polis, which means the city. During the ancient times, the Acropolis was also known as Cecropia, after the legendary serpent man Cecrops, the supposed first Athenian king. The history of the Athenian Acropolis is not limited to antiquity. It was long-lasting and its monuments underwent many transformations upon the prevalence of Christianity as well as during the Frankish and Ottoman rule. The most renowned monuments were erected in the second half of the 5th century BC when Athens, following the victories against the Persians and the establishment of democracy, took a leading position amongst the other city-states of the ancient world. Located on the Mausoleon Hill, the Philopappus monument is an ancient Greek mausoleum and monument dedicated to Gaius Julius Antiochus Epiphanes Philopappus, a prince from the kingdom of Commagene. The Odeon of Herodes Atticus, also known as Herodion, is a stone Roman theatre structure located on the southwest slope of the Acropolis. It was built in 161 AD by Herodes Atticus in memory of his Roman wife Aspasia Annia Resila. It was originally a steep sloped theatre with a 3-story stone front wall and a wooden roof made of expensive cedar of Lebanon timber. It was used as a venue for music concerts with a capacity of 5,000. It lasted intact until it was destroyed and left in ruins by the Heruli in 267 AD. It was later renovated in 1950. The construction of Propylia was assigned to the architect Misicles in 437 BC. The original design was never completed due to the Peloponnesian War. Built around 420 BC, the temple of Athena Nike was dedicated to the goddesses Athena and Nike. The temple is the earliest fully Ionic temple on the Acropolis. Regarded as the finest example of Greek architecture, the Parthenon is an ancient religious temple the Athenians built for the Greek goddess Athena. Its construction started in 447 BC. This temple was built in thanksgiving for the Hellenic victory over Persian Empire invaders during the Greco-Persian Wars. Later point in history, it also served as the treasury of Athens. Following this, the Christians converted it into a church and dedicated it to the Virgin Mary. Inside the Parthenon, there once stood a colossal statue of Athena Promachos. The statue was 9 meters high and symbolized the victory and strength of the Athenians over the Persians. The coordinated construction of the citadel didn't take place until the 5th century BC. Pericles, an Athenian statesman, is largely responsible for the full development of the Acropolis. The Pandrosion was a sanctuary dedicated to Pandrosus, the kind and obedient daughter of the legendary king of Athens, Cecrops. She was the first priestess of Athena, the patron goddess of the city. This sacred olive tree is thought to be the descendant of the mythical tree that goddess Athena gifted to the citizens after she defeated Poseidon in a contest to become the patron goddess of Athens, and the city was later named after her.